We are live. Now my headphones are cold and I can hear myself. Noise canceling. Yeah, because clearly it picks up my mic, but I'm not getting his. It's got some noise canceling effect, but nope. No.
Here, let's add to the stage. Now
Now
can
I.
it? Now you got me. All right. Woohoo! Ah,
Made it to AOPA. This is an exciting thing.
let me see if I'm hearing. So you can hear me.
Loud and clear.
But I cannot hear you. That's very interesting.
Hmm. Is my mic level on for the mixer?
Let's see what we got here. Settings, audio, test 1 2.
Ooh, I wonder if it's got a limitation. Can you hear me now?
Oh,
Microphone check.
microphone check. So let's. Oh, we got Dave that says he can hear both. Confirm that you can hear us, and then we'll just kind of roll with it, and I'll just kind of put this off to the side. All right.
Dave, how are we looking?
Can you pop on your LinkedIn? Oh yes. Okay. Well, I can't hear anything. Oh, you know what? I wonder if I did this. Okay. I don't know. Cool. All right. Well, we are live. This potentially is the first live broadcast at AOPA. Maybe.
Maybe, it's believable. I don't think Jim Lawson's done one yet. We'd have to double check with Nicole Verquillen. She may have done one.
Okay, cool. Well, I've got Chris Robinson with me, director, NCOPE, and many other hats along the way. Yes, programmer extraordinaire, historian, teacher, all those things, right?
I've been accused of worse. Just let me know which hat I got to wear today.
So let's just talk into like, okay, what brings you to the the AOPA meeting, and then what you're excited to see.
Ooh, and those are two very different things. I'm brought
Yes.
here because I'm here to discuss the future of residency and education, as well as certification. So ABC has me and Mr. Steve Fletcher, Kathy Carter, Robin Seabrook, and Mark Clary talking a little bit about the new residency standards. And that's tomorrow at 11 o'clock, because you still have time to watch. But what I'm most excited about is all the additive manufacturing and digital workflow. Just looking at the program and even walking around the exhibit hall, it's just incredible to see how much we've done with additive manufacturing.
That's super cool. So I mean, I mean, you've been around for a while. You were a technician also and a clinician. What are you finding as a uh, like benefit to additive manufacturing?
Ooh, at the end of the day, the one thing that I think is most impressive is consistency. Even my best days as a tech, there's no way that I could top a multi-jet fusion printer in terms of repeatability.
Okay, yeah, and so I mean, so there's a lot of that. And do you feel like that's a benefit to like the clinicians coming in? Are you hearing that from some of the residents, like this idea of consistency, almost like getting out of the lab, making the clinical, just being more of, for lack of a better term, professional? That's not what I mean, but you know what I'm saying. um, is the additive manufacturing attractive to the young people?
Ooh, so the ones that I'm lucky enough to interface with, I would say yes. But also, there's always this implicit bias. If your background is really analog, you're way more involved with plaster and more of the traditional methods. They still have a place, but you have this bias towards it. And it was really hard for me to actually embrace the whole idea of digital. I worked for ShapeMaker back in 2006 and 7, and the idea that I could actually use foam carvings and I could do all my rectification in software was a big departure from just the nice ability of something tangible you could touch with a cast.
Yeah. So I mean, a lot of the things, and I was in on the scanning workshop with Comb Scan, and this idea of, hey, you've got um, records and a lot of talk around reimbursement, like why do we do what we do? Do you feel like that stuff is important on the digital side too?
Oh, absolutely. I think if you need to document change in health status and medical necessity, it's so much easier to show a volume change with something digital where you're going to have accuracy far better than a tape measure.
Okay. Yeah, and like, and that's why I love having people like Kurt and Bertram and John Naff that love the coding and reimbursement side. I mean, I know that side is important. That's what keeps the bills open and all that stuff, but not interesting at all to me. Like, it's interesting in that, hey, the technology is pushing forward, but I one of the things that I loved the most, or loved hearing the most, was, hey, this digital technology allows you to tell a better story to insurance.
Yep. And the nice thing is, it's not just your subjective feedback. The one thing that I always hear from individuals in the profession trying to get reimbursed and challenge on some of the claims is there's this clear implicit bias that you have towards getting reimbursed. Defining necessity yourself from a purely subjective standpoint, why should they listen to you? But when you actually have a digital model to say, objectively speaking, I have a limb that's 8 to 12% bigger, now I have something that's measurable.
Yeah, well, and then right, and that's a story that you can tell. I mean, and it's easily understood, especially like if you have pictures and that sort of thing. Like, you can write this most beautiful narrative and talk about all the scientific reason. Those people's eyes are glossing over, but you show a picture, they're like, "Oh, that's bigger than that." Okay,
Yep.
yeah. So on the additive manufacturing side, um I know we've done some stuff together, and I want you to talk a little bit about your time with ShapeMaker and kind of what you're seeing, and this idea of data and big data, right? So,
Oh yeah.
what do people need to be concerned about when they're speaking with manufacturers about their data? So, not only scan data, but rectified data. I know that's a it's a tough question, but I think it's one that is very important because everybody is very protective of their way to do it. The Brent way to do it or the Chris Robinson way to do it. But if you give that access to a larger company and they run their algorithms and machine learning and AI and all that stuff, it also becomes their data. And so I just thoughts on that.
Ooh. And it's really two pieces. There's this whole idea of open sourcing and sharing information for the benefit of the profession. Like I'm a staunch advocate for let's make repositories so the world can have access to my bulldog lock models or my various transfemoral shapes. But the idea that I'm giving all this information to a vendor and this vendor now can use this to create some of their models, machine learning, whatever other factors. I think there needs to be almost like a code of ethics, and they're starting to define it within the AI and machine learning community now. But I'd like to actually see the vendors that are working with if to say, you know what, your data is being used in a manner that it is exclusive to you. We will use your data in these manners. It's kind of like the privacy agreement we have right now for websites. Like, what do you do with my first name and last name and email address? I want to know what you're doing with my 3MF file.
Okay. Well, I like that. So, like, is really more of a transparency side of things of like, how are you going to use the data? Are you going to try to profit off my data? And in some cases that may be okay as long as I'm kept in the loop.
Yeah. And if it's a continuous quality improvement thing, I think it's a great idea. Like I'm thinking about ischial containment socket shapes. What if we start to realize that a hybrid, if we actually look at models of a few different practitioner shapes, results in an outcome that's more consistent across the board? I think that makes the profession better. I just want to know if my brim shape in particular all of a sudden has enabled other clinicians to benefit.
Okay. Yeah, and I think the thing that I know, and that one of the things that I love about digital is that these clinicians that have a few more gray hairs or no hair, right? They're leaving the profession, and they're leaving with their knowledge in their head. And that to me is a problem. Like, we have zero legacy. I mean, we have data points and that sort of thing, but zero legacy on what they actually did. And digital can change that tide.
Oh, and it's just such a good scribe. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's gifted clinicians. I think of Marlo Ortiz and his socket system. He did a beautiful job documenting his process and tools. But when it comes down to actual tangible work, it's tough to beat this digital format and the idea of a STL or a 3MF.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think that's great, Chris. Now let's talk a little bit about like some of the residency stuff and the like the NCOPE
Ooh.
stuff. Like, what do residents really need to look at when they're considering a residency? Because there's the education side, right? There's also a money side. There's also, how does it move me forward? Do they provide what I want to do? Do they provide a broad spectrum, not broad spectrum? What, like, through all this, like, if somebody was able to get some nuggets of what is a successful residency, what does that look like?
You know, if I were looking for a residency today, I would have asked a lot more questions of the sites. I think a really important question that's not asked often enough is what's your approach to teaching and training residents? And what are your long term plans for residents? Do you want to actually retain? And I think if there's this transparency where somebody says, you know what, I'd love to learn with you, but my long term goal may not be to actually stay in the geographic area, that may create a little bit different relationship. But stand by.
Oh, there she is.
All right. But just asking what's the long term objectives of the resident and that residency site slash employer is key. And while residency needs to be the second after education, it's your first practitioner job, most individuals. And I like to be real clear about that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and I think as a receptor site, I think that there you it is a see if let me just see here.
Our Wi Fi's gone down a little bit.
Yep. Hey man, what's going on? We are live, but good to see you.
Split hairs, right? Thank you.
Thanks, man. Let's see where my Wi-Fi went. Where'd you go?
That could be your new nickname. We could
Yeah,
refer to Katie as Wi Fi.
that's right. So let's pick that up. Well, let's keep on going, and we'll see where we're at, and then if it's not there, yes, Wi-Fi is better now, though. Man, Dave is hanging on with us. Cool. So let's get back to the residency. Or what I was going on was, hey, Jack.
We know that guy.
Yeah, we do. Um, so yeah, when you're talking about a preceptor, you're looking for a mentorship or what have you. you as the receptor, you know that there's going to be some more time in the education side of things, and you're this is a conscious choice of you giving back to the profession as well. But in the end, you do have somebody that will hopefully be proficient and take some of the pressure off you. And then if they want to stay in the area, then they know the ins and outs, the good, bad, and ugly of your clinic. Um, Question for you: like, is additive manufacturing a big part of what residents are looking for right now?
Ooh, I would say yes. I have a lot of individuals that are saying, Chris, I want to be somewhere cutting edge. I want to stay on top of things. And 10 years ago, it was, hey, are we using MPKs as often as we should be? But more and more often, I'm getting this interest in manufacturing, but it's not necessarily patchers and bending metal. It's the idea of, hey, do you have access to like an MJF printer?
Okay, very very cool. We went the whole gamut in just a few minutes. But anything else you'd like to say?
Yeah, I'm pretty excited to actually have a chance to like connect with folks live. And kudos to StreamYard and you for pulling this together.
Yeah, it's pretty wild, isn't it, with these headsets and all that. I mean, the audio is pretty crazy. I mean,
Yeah.
clear. So anyway, awesome. Well, guys, thanks for hanging out. We're gonna be going live again here soon, but we'll stop this one just for the time being, and we'll be back in.